West Valley UU in that way too. It took a huge financial investment to create this beautiful space where our community comes together. It costs a lot more now just to keep the doors open. I'm referring to the day-to-day costs, utilities, insurance premiums, facilities maintenance, interest on loans, the really sexy stuff like that. We can't take it for granted that it can be sustained without our increased financial support. Like everything else, this warm, inviting environment and beautiful campus comes with a price tag. We took on a substantial amount of debt to make a long-held dream a reality. We've increased our pledge goals to support the increased expenses. We have to. Looking at rough numbers, this translates into an almost 50% increase in pledges over last year. This is a big leap, but we have taken a big leap to make this miracle happen. West Valley UU has a lot more to offer than it did a year ago. We are positioned for growth and are already attracting newcomers. I believe the $75,000 pledge goal is attainable. You have to set the bar high to achieve great things. We've shown incredible generosity in the last year by exceeding our $50,000 pledge goal by 6%. When it comes time to decide on your pledge, think about what this community of acceptance, caring, and learning is worth to you. With the number of pledging members we have today, we probably need an average of about $1,800 per family per year to support the congregation. Not everyone can afford that amount, and there are others who pledge at a much higher level. The $1,800 is just an average level. Here's the math behind the average number. That's $150 a month, less than $35 per week, and just under $5 a day. Some people spend that much on coffee at Starbucks. That same money directed toward the church would make a huge impact on our community. We have shown what this church can do by creating this amazing space. UUs are typically not known for strong financial support of their churches. In many UU congregations, a contribution of 1% to 2% of a member's income is the norm. Christian churches typically see contributions of 5% to 10% of their members' income, which is why they're able to offer so much more to their congregants and have a much greater voice. To be financially healthy, we need to strive toward a pledge level of approximately 5% of income. Clearly, that's not possible for everyone. Please look at your personal finances with the spiritual value you derive in mind, and think about incrementally increasing your pledge. There may be some members who could easily double their pledges. Some might be able to increase their pledge by 10%, or 25%, or even 50%. Or think about an extra $1 a day for $360 annually over last year's pledge. Or maybe an extra $10 per week, about $500 per year over last year's pledge. This is our time to step up and follow through to make sure that what we have created continues to flourish. There are so few places in Arizona where you can freely explore your spirituality, question, learn, and grow in a community of like-minded souls. Thank you for listening and for being part of this special community. Your generosity and hard work has helped our church reach one of its best points in our 32-year history. You are what makes West Valley UU great.
join me now for a unison reading, number 457. All together. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. And lastly, please rise as you're willing and able. Join in our closing hymn, number 318. We would be one. Please join me now for the reading of West Valley UU's mission statement. This church provides a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for living better lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. Next week, we'll invite back Reverend Haida, whose sermon is titled Palm Sunday, Passover, and Political Activism. In this service, Reverend Haida will explore deeper truths and inspirations in the stories of Palm Sunday, Passover, and apply them to our current lives and challenges. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Not through hatred, collision, and depressing competition, not through war, whether of nation against nation, class against class, or capital against labor, but through union, harmony, and the reconciling of all interests, the giving scope of all noble sentiments and aspirations is the renovation of the world, the elevation of the degraded and suffering masses of mankind can be sought and effected. We thank Judy, Anna, and Kathy for joining us in this morning's service and sharing with us exactly what it takes to keep us going. We thank our musicians, Joanne and Barry, for providing our hymns. To our greeters and our hospitality, thank you. And to everyone else who helps out, thank you, thank you, And don't forget about coffee and food after. I would now like to take a moment to introduce our three speakers this morning, Anna Johnson, Judy Armstrong, and Kathy Dugan. For those of you who are regulars, I don't think you could not know who they are. And for our visitors this morning, please know that none of us would be here without them, and we are very grateful to have them all.
Okay, we'll see how this works. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm Anna Johnson. I'm president of the Board of Trustees for West Valley. And as Judy is vice president and Kathy is our treasurer. Roz is our secretary, but she's not here today, so she asked Tom, her husband, if he would take part. My husband Noel is a trustee at large on the board, and Diana Barker, who lit our chalice, is also a trustee at large, at least for 4 more months, 3.5 more months. Not that I'm counting. Because it's Stewardship Sunday, I'd like to talk to you about 2 questions. What is meaningful membership? And what creates a sense of ownership in our community? Our covenant that we read every Sunday says, and service is our prayer. Service is work done for others, or service is loyalty to a cause. The cause that we talk about today is our mission to provide a safe place to celebrate diversity, to support each other in our spiritual searches, to be effective in fostering social and environmental justice in our world. Founded 33 years ago, West Valley Unitarian Universalist Church has been maintained all of those years by meaningful members and loyalty to our cause through the good times and also through the challenging times. One way to create meaningful membership is to regularly attend here on Sunday. Not just because we have a special interest in the service that particular Sunday, but because, as Lucy Trissel put it in her statement in the stewardship pamphlet that you received today, here I can draw inspiration for my life. I'm sure Lucy will agree that attendance cements the bonds of our community and keeps our attention directed to whatever it is that we ascribe worth. Regular attendance strengthens our loyalty to the cause of West Valley, its mission, and its purpose. Another key to meaningful membership is reaching out beyond Sunday. making connections beyond Sunday morning. This may simply mean attending First Friday breakfast or participating in the discussion group that we have here sometimes on Saturday, or attending a committee meeting during the week and serving out the duties of that committee, or all of these. Just last Friday, one of our weekly cleaning crews, Judy and Elizabeth are here today. There's 4 crews that every 4th week they come and clean. They spent, I would say, probably 5 hours this last Friday here cleaning this facility and the other facilities. And yesterday, as Noel announced, a crew volunteered their Saturday yesterday for campus cleanup. These connections foster a sense of ownership and belonging. We have loyal members who participate in social action projects outside of this campus. Valerie and Nick go down to the bus depot in the middle of the night on Friday to help illegal immigrants who've been released from prison. They're dropped off in the middle of the night to fend for themselves. Some of them don't even speak English. This is meaningful membership, loyalty to our cause. And finally, meaningful membership is getting involved in the creation of the church of the future. The future is created by those who keep showing up. One of our members, Lon Curtis, has reminded me several times in this past year, especially during the building of this sanctuary. He's told me it's important to remember that what we're doing here today is an investment in the future, an investment in those who may not yet be here, but will come and enjoy this community even after we are gone. So the message today is keep showing up. Just keep showing up. And seriously consider what you're personally able and willing to contribute in the coming year that will increase your sense of ownership in our campus, our community, and the mission of West Valley.
Sorry about that. You didn't want to see a headless voice. I couldn't even get to the speaker without it. Besides being the Vice President of the Board of Trustees, I'm also Stewardship Chair this year for the 2nd year, so you may be hearing from me this month. The box is in the back. What comes to mind when you think of the word stewardship? Often the word is used in connection with environmentalism, conserving and protecting our natural resources, being good stewards and caretakers of the planet, so it will be in good shape for future generations. Sometimes we speak of good stewardship of our personal assets, maintaining our homes and vehicles, setting aside funds for future needs, education, retirement, emergencies. Yet, I'm guessing when we hear the word stewardship in this context and setting, all we hear is fund drive. And yes, today is the day we make our pledges for the coming year. But I really want us to reflect on the larger meaning of stewardship within this and any spiritual community. We have the same needs as a family or business to care for our physical assets, maintain our buildings and grounds in good repair. We also need to have reserves for emergencies and to build for our future, as Anna was saying. But we have a broader concern than just a business. We're invested in each other. We have a bond of community. In this respect, we are more analogous to the family than to the business or civic organization. We don't just come here each week as passive audience for some music, some poetry, and hopefully an interesting speaker. We come because we are invested in each other's lives. We compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. That takes commitment. We're committed to each other through our joys and our sorrows. We celebrate each other's successes and share each other's burdens. I like to think of our investment in this community as being like what we invest in a marriage or family. When we enter a marriage, we don't agree to each give 50% of the love, 50% of the work, 50% of the effort. We each agree to be in for 100%. It takes work and attention and commitment to live that out. We agree to be there for each other in all circumstances. We need to be stewards not just of our shared temporal assets, but of the relationship itself. At one point in our marriage, Bernie and I had an unpleasant choice of him being completely unemployed or taking a position as a travel instructor. He went on the road and was only home for 36 hours every other week. It's not as bad as a military tour, and I have my great sympathy for those families. But in our own way, we each felt like we were giving more than 100%. Bernie hated living in airports and hotels. I hated single parenting 3 kids, especially with an 18-year-old who was feeling his oats and punching all of my buttons. But you hang in there through that because you're both all in. In a family, we may be irked daily by that kid pushing our buttons, but if he needs braces, or tuition, or an appendectomy, we find a way to meet those needs, even if it means that hoped-for vacation won't be happening this year. And we do it without resentment. In a loving family, it's rewarding to be able to provide what the other needs. It gives meaning and purpose to our lives. We are needed. And each family member has something to give. Just this past Christmas, I went out to Portland to be with my mom before the holiday. I do this every 3 months, make that trip. Besides just enjoying each other's company and visiting grands and great-grands, these are the times when we schedule any needed legal, financial, or medical appointments. This time it was the dentist. Mom's upper plate with her 4 front teeth had become ill-fitting and uncomfortable. Her dentist had made a referral to another office for the necessary work, one that was a ways away. We'd been assured that she'd have her teeth back in a couple of days, so it would be no problem for me to take her twice. First impressions, then the fitting. As it turned out, the dentist was going to be out of the office for a couple days later in the week, and the lab couldn't finish the plate before he left. So Mom would be toothless grin of a 6-year-old for longer than planned. Doesn't look so good when you're 100. It also meant I wouldn't be there for that return trip. I tried my usual backup options with no luck. Those folks were busy and committed. So I asked my 22-year-old grandson, Doug, if he would take his great-grandma. This is a young man who's had a difficult adolescence, to put it mildly. Family investment in care and support has been flowing to him, not from him, for the past several years, until just recently. He was new to being needed and new to being able to help. Not only did he rise to the occasion and adjust his work schedule, but he took a dry run just to make sure he knew the route and had allowed enough time. Then, the day of the appointment, he sent me text updates all day long. I didn't forget. I've got Grandma. We made it here. She's doing fine. I got her home. And he was genuinely thrilled to be able to help and happy to be needed and glad to be the one who was now able to step up and be a part of the giving in the family. That's what family stewardship, the caring for each other's needs, is about. So back to this community. We don't all have the same gifts to contribute in terms of time, talent, or treasure, but we all have something to give, and all of our gifts are needed and valued. One of the reasons that this community feels so right to me is because we're not a 500 family megachurch where I could just get lost in the crowd. We are close up and personal. It's clear when there's a need that I can fill, and it's good to be needed here. And I know that others feel the same way. It's nice to see people pitching in to help out without being asked, just seeing a need and filling it. No one here is ever assigned the task of setting up the tables and chairs for hospitality after service, but they're always done. I've seen moms vacuuming in the hospitality building after our little crumb crushers crush the crumbs. And I've seen people picking up dish towels to help Kim clean up afterwards. We're a community that just does what needs doing. That's stewardship. We each take responsibility for the whole. We need to do that in our finances also. Our expenses this year have increased significantly now that we have this beautiful new sanctuary. We knew they would. Last year at this time, in this talk, I had guesstimated it would increase at least $800 to $1,000 per month with the added interest, upkeep, and utilities. Well, with the extra things the city has to do, it looks like it's closer to $1,500 increase per month. That's about 50% a month more than we've been spending last year. This month's theme for service is growth. Well, in a very concrete way, we have grown with this building. The purpose of the building was to meet other needs. We needed room to grow a growing religious education program, space to grow our congregation large enough that we could eventually support ministerial staff. And so now we need to grow our pledging to continue those dreams. We need more pledging members and more being pledged per member. Loose plate pledging is important, and so is fundraising, but pledges are the bedrock of our finances. Like a family that builds its budget on regular income, not bonus checks or tax returns that may come and may not, we build our budget based on pledged contributions. Our fiscal year runs July through June, and each spring, we use the numbers we get from our pledge drive to build the coming year's budget. We need to know in March what pledges are, so we can have that budget ready for you, our members, in May. That's good financial stewardship. One Sunday last year, I gave a sermon on faith, and I recall saying that we all have faith in something. I have faith in us. Just as we support each other in our individual spiritual journeys, I have faith we can step up and do whatever it takes to support our communal journey, so we can continue to provide this place where we come together to celebrate, to be inspired, to work for justice, and all those ideals that we commit to each week in our mission statement.
Thanks to Judy for putting this up there. I need it too. Hi, I'm Kathy Dugan, and I've been the treasurer of West Valley UU Church for the past year, during a time of amazing growth and accomplishment. My husband Bill and I came to West Valley UU over 10 years ago, looking for a community that would help us instill good values in our then 5-year-old son, Tom, or Tommy. I had been raised Roman Catholic, but had been unchurched for over 25 years by the time I explored the UU faith. West Valley UU fit what we were looking for. Having no family in Arizona, it offered a community of open-minded people. It provided an atmosphere of tolerance and acceptance in a state that we found to be oppressively racist, intolerant, and close-minded. Through this congregation, we were able to nurture our spiritual growth and offer a multi-generational environment for our son Tom. He's now 17 years old and loudly rejects much of what his parents hold dear. But the 7 UU principles are deeply ingrained in him. He's rapidly growing into an adult who honors the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And under the somber teenage facade, there's a person who has no preconceived notions about race, sexual preference, economic, or educational standing. While Tom voices teenage disdain for everyone over about the age of 25, he's mainly intolerant of the intolerant. He's a UU, whether he will admit it or not. Soon, Tom will be going off to college, and I look forward to watching him make his contribution to the world. The members of this church have always encouraged his musical gifts and helped to deepen his love and appreciation for the arts. We're very grateful for this caring community. When I first signed the book, I pledged my financial support, and within less than 6 months was recruited to be board secretary, a position I shared with my husband. I later served on the board as an at-large member and was involved in the ministerial search committee that brought Reverend Paul to our congregation. I then served on the committee on ministry to help integrate the new minister into our church community. For the first half of my time at West Valley UU, I was very actively involved. I took a few years off to be a congregant, but stepped up again a little over a year ago. I took on the challenge of the treasurer position because I felt that my financial background brought something to the table. I was compelled to help protect the spiritual and financial investment we all have in this church. Speaking to you from the treasurer's standpoint, I'd like to ask you to think about your spiritual investment in the church and how that might correlate to your financial investment. What is it worth to you to belong to a community of free thinkers, a community of tolerance, a community of lifelong learners? Last year I used this analogy and I think it's still relevant. I compare my financial support of the church to my sustaining membership status at our local NPR radio station. Public radio is free. I listen to public radio every day. I don't have to pledge each year, but I give money to KJ's